Hi everyone, it's Eleni. I'm here in the kitchen with Shakti. Today we're talking about the ketogenic diet, and I actually have Dr. Rao with me. She's going to be talking about some of the science behind the diet and a lot of the commonly asked questions that we hear all the time in our office. So I hope you think it's informative and enjoy our conversation.
Hi everyone. So the problem with ketogenic diet and the process that it gets confused a lot. So to clarify what it means is it's really not a low carb diet or a high protein diet. It is really a high fat diet. So the fat percentage of your total calories has to be about 70% or more on a ketogenic plan, and protein should be limited to about 20%, and your carbohydrates are 10% or less. And that gets very challenging for a plant-based person or a vegetarian or a vegan. So it's important to start looking at labels and start looking at net carbs. And net carbs are actually things that are your total carbs versus your fiber. So it's important to kind of manage all of that and kind of get a concept of it. What happens when you eat high fats is that when you're limiting your glucose intake, your sugars that are coming to your brain and your energy sources are not there, so then your body needs other sources to get energy production. So what it takes is it burns the fat, and it makes ketone bodies in your liver, which then fuel yourself for energy, your brain, your muscles, and it tends to cause people to say, I have more energy today, I have less fatigue, I have less brain fog. But the reality for me is that although fats do serve as a good source of energy, I think it's what you're not eating that's more important in the sense of a regular diet. If you're eating processed carbohydrates, if you're eating white flour, if you're having a lot of sugars and sweets, those things tend to drain energy anyway. So it's not just that the fats are working, but it's that you're not eating the other stuff that's making you so tired to begin with.
That makes a lot of sense. And just to piggyback on what Dr. Rao was saying about being a vegan or a vegetarian and trying to do this diet, it is reasonable to try. It's just extremely difficult. But luckily we have a couple of recipes on our website for you. Sweet potato, grilled cheese, it's amazing. And we want to talk a little bit about different vegetables and things that you can try when you are a vegetarian. So you want to stick to non-starchy veg, which are things like cruciferous vegetables and dark leafy greens. So lots of broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, spinach and kale and all those sorts of things. The sweet potatoes have a little bit more sugar, so if you're going to eat them early, eat them once. Definitely if you're doing a ketogenic diet, you want to stay away from those starchy vegetables.
So I think the other thing that's important when you're starting to look at diet plans is to start to learn how to read labels. And you want to look at serving size, because when you see a label and you see it on a bag and you say, oh, this whole thing's about 200 calories, well, that's usually not true, because it's based on the servings that are in the bag. So usually something will have between 4 to 8 servings, and only 1/4 or 1/8 of that would be 200 calories. So when we look at a sweet potato or a slice of bread, for example, one slice is about 12 net carbs. But on the ketogenic diet, your maximum, if you use the carb manager or an app that tells you how much you should eat, it sometimes limits you to less than 15 grams per day. So that means you can only have half the slice of that bread as a serving. So just kind of keep in mind, I think, about the servings, because you can still have a full day of eating, but you just have to manage it by looking at labels.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And can you talk more about the carb manager and what that is? Because I think that that's a really useful tool that a lot of our patients could take advantage of.
Yeah, so I think the issue is it's very challenging for most people to start looking at labels if you don't have a dietary nutrition background, but you can easily start learning a lot on your own by just looking at a label. So the carb manager, what it does is it takes your weight and your height and your goals. I want to lose 10 pounds, I want to gain 10 pounds, whatever your goals are, and it gives you a daily intake of how much fats, carbs, and proteins you should have as a respect of all the calories that you're taking in, which is very helpful. And then it quantifies the foods that you have picked and tells you what you're starting off with. So that, I think, is a huge boon when you're looking at starting a plan for yourself without a guidance. We think you should always have somebody on your team, nutritionist and a physician, that are going to monitor you, because certain diets, like the ketogenic diet, actually can cause elevations in lipids and elevation in inflammatory markers. So you really want to be careful. There are 20 to 30% of people actually increase their lipids on the ketogenic diet. So I'm not a big fan of people staying on it long term. I think it might be a nice reset for some people, short term, 2 weeks, something like that. but I don't think it's a sustainable plan, and I do worry that there might be increased cardiovascular risk with it.
So I'm sure a lot of people have heard that there's all of these health benefits with trying a ketogenic diet. Can you talk about the data that they've seen in seizures and epilepsy?
The best data has always been with the neurological benefits like seizures, and so that is a very good diet for epilepsy in general. But the other sources with weight loss and fat loss and performance, there is data that shows that fat loss is there, but so are low carb diets. And when you eat healthy, even if you're plant-based or vegan, it's about trying to eat healthy choices, make healthy choices, whole foods, whole grains, those kind of things. Those will always help people lose weight. So I'm not saying, so the data is kind of not clear that ketogenic is superior to other wholesome diets. In terms of fat loss, yes, there is fat loss, but the same concept that if you are watching the processed foods and the preservatives, it still might be equal. And performance, there's a lot of people who tout that ketogenic diets are great for performance, but I'm not convinced that that's true. There's some data that also shows that it's worsening for performance, so I think it's an individualized issue. I would definitely not tell people to go on a ketogenic diet to increase their sports performance, because I don't think it's safe in the long run.
That makes sense.
Well, that was our introduction to the ketogenic diet, and we welcome you to join us in our office, meet our nutritionist, go over a diet plan for you. We can check your labs and watch your inflammatory markers, be safe when you try these diets, and go on our website for more recipes and information. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.